kind of kids. If I can't have it, you won't. And the cost of that was vast because the estimates are not in. The estimates are here, but the account is not in. It's between 25 and 100,000 people lost their lives in that. And then an NGO has come in and immediately started, they've cordoned off a lot of the area, and they've immediately started to remove and traffic the children that are left in the quake area, so their parents can't get to them, and the children are renamed and sent out of the country and trafficked, and it's a real travesty. So we have CERN. Okay, yeah, they're shutting it down again for maintenance, etc. Is what they always say. Yeah. This is a upgrade, in this case by the White Hats, to not allow certain things to be coming in through CERN. So because of what they did back when it was under Dark Hat control, when they created the Higgs boson. And what that did is it literally fractured the space-time a little bit that we are in this neighborhood called Earth. And so it made so that time does not pass the same rate that it used to. I don't know, a lot of people, as you get older, you say time seems to go by faster. In this case, it actually is going by faster. There's a lot of different measurements. One is that these monks, for hundreds of years in the Middle East, in one area, have these candles they make, and they're made of exactly a certain amount of wax, with exact certain amount of wick, with exact length of time they expect it to burn. And it's usually 24 hours that they burn for. Now they burn for 16, but it's the same amount of wax, same amount of everything else.
Good morning, good afternoon, or evening to all our viewers worldwide. I am Veronique Lawson. Welcome back again, everyone, and thank you for tuning in into MBNK News. We are incredibly excited today because we are welcoming back a guest who completely blew the roof off during his first appearance with us. Joining us once again is one and only GeneDecode. And you could see actually his beautiful dog. I think he or she beautiful dog on the picture right on my left or on my right, depending on how you view it. Well, before Gene gets the mic at this time, I would like to read his condensed biography. Gene's life story sounds like something out of cinematic thriller, but is rooted in decades of service and profound quest for absolute truth. He is a 20-year veteran of the U.S. Navy submarine fleet and a 40-year martial arts sensei, I think I'm pronouncing it well, who has spent his life researching the intersection for the spiritual, the political, and the metaphysical. Born with skilled remote viewing abilities, his path took a radical turn in the 1990s when he began uncovering the deep influence of the global cabal findings. So shocking, he actually tried to enlist his own students to disprove them, only for them to confirm his research through credible sources. But perhaps The most defining moment came in 1992 during a 30-minute near-death experience. After meeting the Creator and taking a holy covenant to serve humanity and the earth, he was sent back to finish his mission. Today, through his relentless work in decoding the lies we have been conditioned to believe, the world known him as a GeneDecode, and I call him the real GeneDecode. There's no other real GeneDecode out there than him. Welcome, Gene. It's a true honor to have you back. How have you been since the last time?
No, thank you for having me back, Veronique. I've been well, thank you.
Great, so awesome. So much is going on, and I'm pretty sure it's mind blowing. I'm not so sure that it's only in America, but worldwide. Europe, we're having a lot of weather modification. People are just not even barely live again there. There's fire here and there. So many questions with the disclosure also, and the Spielberg. The Spielberg disclosure latest film, but I don't know if you have anything in particular today in your mind that you would like to kick off this meeting or this conversation with today. Any angle that you would like to address, be more than welcome.
Oh, thank you. So, yeah, the lots of fires. That's for sure. I know there's one in Fruita, Colorado, in I think it's Chappie County. I don't know how the county right, but unfortunately, in that one, 3 firefighters, 2 men and a woman, if I have that right, lost their lives in that. So, prayers for their families and their loved ones that are still here for their loss. And there's a fire in Utah, I believe, and many others. Then there's snowing in Yellowstone, which is bizarre. Hail, I mean, massively large. I mean, I don't know if it's what I've heard is, it seems impossible that it's baseball size up in Canada, but like 2 feet of hail. So then we have the massive earthquake in Venezuela, and that definitely was a scalar and directed energy weapon attack. Before the attack, red lasers were seen, all kinds of TR3s were seen, many type of weapons. And then they had the first earthquake, and normally with earthquake you might have some pre-shocks and you almost always have aftershocks, and those are smaller than the original. In this case, the second quake was much bigger than the first one, and there were no aftershocks, so definitely stating that it's not a real, natural event. And it was at 10K, which is the deep state destroying their underground facility there in Caracas, like, children that are that kind of nasty kind of kids. If I can't have it, you won't. And the cost of that was vast, because the estimates are not in. The estimates are here, but the account is not in. It's between 25 and 100,000 people lost their lives in that. And then an NGO has come in and immediately started, they've cordoned off a lot of the area, and they've immediately started to remove and traffic the children that are left in the quake area, so their parents can't get to them, and the children are renamed and sent out of the country and trafficked, and it's a real travesty. So then the peace treaty in Iran broke the deal, so Trump immediately retaliated, showing that there's going to be no leniency. and bombed a lot of their military facilities, their drone facilities, and other things completely flat. So that's continuing onward. The dome that is on the border of Iran and Iraq that has the operational Stargate, that's the only one that's allowed to be opening and closing other than one in Cheyenne Mountain of the 13 Stargates on Earth. That one is now locked down. So lots and lots of things going on. Back to you, Veronique.
Wow, thank you very much, Gene. Indeed, there's a lot of things happening around the globe, not only in America. And I was actually watching how when the Treaty of Versailles took place. That was awesome when even the journalist asked President Trump if the deal was signed. He said, "Yeah, it is signed." Just love it. And then he says that it's signed in Versailles. Just for many people who do not understand the reason why that was done there, I think that the Treaty of Versailles was marking the 107th year when he signed that one, the first one back. That was the 28th of June 1919 to cease the World War One. And for him, 107 years later, to sign the peace deal of Iran, U.S. again in Versailles, France, that speaks a lot of volume, really. Thank you very much, Jean. And also, I don't know whether you know that CERN in Geneva, Switzerland, closed this facility on June the 20th. Is there anything to do with also all what we were experiencing here in America and also those domes? Hello?
Could you reiterate what you were saying that's going on in Geneva?
Yes, sir. The Codom Collider.
Oh, yes, CERN. Okay, yeah. They're shutting it down again. Yes. For maintenance, etc. is what they always say. Yeah. This is a upgrade, in this case by the White Hats, to not allow certain things to be coming in through CERN. So because of what they did back when it was under Dark Hat control, when they created the Higgs boson. And what that did is it literally fractured the space-time a little bit that we are in this neighborhood called Earth. And so it made so that time does not pass the same rate that it used to. I don't know, a lot of people, as you get older, you say time seems to go by faster. In this case, it actually is going by faster. There's a lot of different measurements. One is that these monks, for hundreds of years in the Middle East, in one area, have these candles they make, and they're made of exactly a certain amount of wax, with exact certain amount of wick, with the exact length of time they expect it to burn. And it's usually 24 hours that they burn for. Now they burn for 16, but it's the same amount of wax, same amount of everything else, which means what used to take 24 hours takes 16. So whatever you think you can get done in a day, reduce it by 1/4. No, because 8, 16, 20, or I guess that's 1/3. 8 and 8, 60, 1/3. So reduce it by 1/3. And I've noticed that it's like, I sit down to meditate on something, which, I know how many things I can cover in the meditation, or as the time, I can feel the flow of time, so to speak. And I'll get done with the meditation, which seems like it's been half an hour, and I'll look and it's, I have to set an alarm clock because it's, I miss things because it's like, what? It's an hour and a half later? So, it's just like, oh my goodness. So, so it's to look at the possibility of repairing that, probably not, but also to keep anything else that came in through that rip that they created, which is shut, but make sure that anything that came in is dealt with that may be lodged in the area. Back to you, Veronique.
Okay, thank you. Thank you very much, Gene, for explaining it a little bit better for those who do not actually know what CERN even stood for, and then what the collateral also was there. It was more for kind of a timing modification. I appreciate your answer on that one. Really, we're witnessing a global shift and then what do you think will be the most critical update you think our audience needs to be aware of right now? I was watching one of your latest video that you released. I don't know whether it's you releasing on YouTube. Just it was today. They said 22 hours ago. The lady who were on the show with you, I think she said 48 hours to prepare. That was kind of the title of the video. I said, what? 48 hours to prepare? What is going on? I'm kind of, okay, I don't know whether you would like to tap into that one or maybe explain to us what is going to take place, what is happening in 48 hours to prepare.
So the things I know that are big, of course, on the mainstream is that Kiev, the Russians are bearing down hard on Kiev. It looks like that'll fall and they'll get control of it. Now, probably spelled the end of that war, which is a good thing. And then also, Trump has announced that a series of events took place. We know about UFC 250, and that's deep state showmanship, so to speak, by the White Hats to state, first they had the king come over so that we got our sovereignty back. They did the ceremony with the bees and the honey desserts and all of those things, and certain pomps and circumstances at certain memorials and different sites around the United States or around Washington. And if you go to a map, like on Google or something, you'll notice it doesn't say Washington, D.C. anymore. It just says Washington, District of Columbia. And then the UFC 250 was as insane as this sounds, is that royalty would do the showmanship. It's essentially black magic. It's magic techniques where they do a big event like that, and it's stating that they are in control, that we control this. So in this case, since Trump put it on the White House lawn, it's saying that the United States sovereignty is real and that we're in control. So you have the lightweight and the heavyweight, and who's fighting and what countries they're from are very pivotal. So it's showing, okay, Trump and the White Hats are in control. We have our sovereignty. And then, of course, the last thing to seal it will be the 250th anniversary, 4th of July celebrations coming up within a little bit, essentially about a week out. So we're just about a week, tad bit more, but it's going to be massive amounts of things happening. He said many aircraft from, I guess, all the way back from when they first had aircraft all the way up to, I don't know how far they're going to go, all the way up to where we are currently with what we have. Are they going to go to TR-3s? I would love to see that, or class. That would really be stunning, have it materialize over the reflecting pole. And then he had the reflecting pole completely redone. It was beautiful. And then you had some Antifa guys, I think they were Antifa, came in and spoiled it. So the White Hats could not do their exhibition of that. That was Dark Cat. And so now they're cleaning it back up and it should be ready in time. So all of these things are the U.S. sovereignty getting itself back. Then after that, announcements all came through the UFC 250 and all of that. you had Trump assembling leaders from all over the world at Camp David. And it's announcing certain things. One of them that he announced is that the Bank of International Settlements, the BIS, or the BEAST, which is the banker's bank. It launders trillions, hundreds of trillions of dollars annually for the world banks. So you're talking all the Rothschilds banks in every country on earth, and then they launder all that stuff they get through there, through BIS. Trump's saying we don't need it anymore, and we're getting rid of it. So the United States is getting rid of it, which is amazing. And that goes hand in hand with the new head of the Federal Reserve, who is announcing that the old graph that they said, if you're going to have an economic growth, it will create inflation at exactly the same rate as the economic growth, which is actually a lie. It's a complete lie. It does not at all create inflation. What creates inflation is pumping more money, in other words, printing more money out of nothing than your gross national product. So you're inflating the amount of currency, and that causes inflation. If you match it, you have no inflation. If you go below it, you have deflation, and the value of things goes up. So they have been controlling since the creation of the Fed, since 1913, the economy's inflation, and it's massive. Because if you go back then, I think gasoline was a penny or something a gallon. So the amount of inflation you can see, but if you're saying it's $3 or $4 where you are, that's 300 or 400% inflation, which all of that value is the value of the gross national product and the productivity and the things made and the hours spent making them and working of the American citizenry and population that has been removed from the country and put in the BIS and the World Banks and the Rothschilds and Carnegies and all of their banks and all of their hoard of gold and stuff that they have in Switzerland. That's already been removed as well by the White Hats, along with the Rothschilds' estates have been auctioned off, essentially meaning they're gone. And that includes heirlooms that they've had for, thousands of years. In some cases, they go back, things they've been accumulating for back before they're called Rothschild and they're called Bauer. So it just goes way, way back. And so what we're seeing is a massive change with the change of getting rid of the BIS. Then Trump posted, or the White House, on the White House platform, we'll be Q posting. And people got, what? And then he said Q stands for quantum, and that we are coming out with the quantum system for all those that thought it was just a bunch of made-up garbage. That makes no sense at all. Now it is. And he's explaining what it's going to be, how it's going to be. So on that, I would say, and they're estimating about a week or so is what I've heard for a transition period, which means all the banks, credit cards, everything else, have cash in hand for a week, because that isn't going to work. Your credit cards, you going to your bank, all of that, while they in transition and shifting things over, that's not going to be happening. So all those listening and everybody who's not listening and those who are, tell them that they need to get enough to live on for a couple of weeks, I would say. A month would be ideal if you can, and help others that can't. So during this time, and get a stock of whatever it is you need for that 2 weeks. You used to always have that when you had farms and ranches and all those things, but now big city people don't. So have food supplies and whatever it is you need to survive for 2 weeks. So at least, and you can always use it later. So a month, you can always do that too. So anyway, so much change, so much. I mean, the things we thought are never going to happen are happening, and then going to arrests and convictions. There's been some really huge ones there. The guy I called the Walrus, who is what's his name? I call him the Walrus. I can't remember his now. I can't remember his name. What's that?
That was Bolton.
John Bolton. Yes, thank you. Yeah, he has been convicted and will do 3 to 5. Is what I've heard years. At 77, that's going to be 82 when he gets out. But it means he also had to pay, I think it's $2.5 million in reparations or forfeiture. And then he also had all of his retirement and pension removed, which is massive. That is way, way beyond the whatever he has to pay in reparations. So that's a really powerful arrest, and that's really good information. And then ongoing is continuing wars against the cartels in Mexico and within the U.S. So the Mexican cartels as well as Chinese cartels. It turns out that one of the largest drug ring, money laundering, trafficking situations was on the Navajo reservation. And it was, the guy's name was Dene. And he built an empire that was massive. Like growing marijuana was the original thing and using it for hemp to make ropes and stuff, but he actually started doing it for the real marijuana, and then other things came in, and they had Chinese mafia in there, and machine gunning and firing, and people getting killed, and abduction of women, and all kinds of things happening, and that was judged on in the end of 2025, and that person, Dene, has gotten 15 years to life in prison. And it's a huge cartel. He also opened a facility in Albuquerque. It was shut down. His license was removed within 1 year because he wasn't paying people. It had rodents and all kinds of terrible situations in. So that cartel, which stretched across the U.S. and he was looking to do that on many of the reservations, has now been removed. It's an amazing thing. Now you look down on the area and all you see is just abandoned, broken down buildings. It's really a wonderful thing. So the cartels are been told by Trump in Mexico that they can clean up their act and mine and coal and iron and other things like that, or they won't like the result. In other words, it won't be good for you because you probably won't survive it. So there's so many changes happening. We are really looking at something that you've heard in movies and we've all dreamed of as a world of peace. No more wars, no more nothing, no more, all of this gang warfare and cartels and all of this is going to be a thing of the past, which is really quite amazing. And he's announced many times the Iron Dome, as it was originally called, now called the Golden Dome for the Golden Age. And that's being run and centered out of Mount Hayes in Alaska, but there's a facility to control all of it in the 9 levels underneath the ballroom of underground structure that includes a jump gate that goes to a jump gate that's same thing being built in the secret garden in China and under the Kremlin. And so they all have jump gates in the same facilities, and then the ballroom will have a massive drone facility. And then, of course, they had for the UFC 250, staged by the white hats took control of it, but it was a black hat setup in which a supposed assassination attempt and massive killing spree of a young man who was mentally not all there and had been in a mental facility and was not capable of doing that. And what the black hat side of the FBI would go to a young man like that, and they'd start talking to him and telling him all kinds of, you could do this, you could do that, and get them to do some kind of event like this, and they'll back them with all the stuff and team and everybody you need with snipers to crossfire, and when they come out, and the drones and the weaponry and explosives. And, you know, anybody, you have to be mentally challenged to believe that you're going to fly, especially with the white Golden Dome, drones over Washington, you know, over the District of Columbia, as it was called, over Columbia, you know, the District of Columbia now, not Washington, D.C., sorry, but over Washington, you know, the capital, you're not going to do that. It's impossible. And then the amount of security and everything in there is impossible. But so they took it over, took praise for it, but it was how the deep state originally set these things up. So it's just an ongoing kind of thing we'll be seeing for the interim near time frame. Back to you, Veronica.
Wow. Thank you very much, Gene, for all that information and that detail. Even for the people who do not understand what is really going on behind the scenes. But wow, we are witnessing a giant domino fall from the other side. And I'm so much appreciative for all the detail you gave. Thank you very much. I just wanted to shift a little bit the gear here for those who asked me a question after the our first interview. They said that you touch on the various alien races and their agenda and the secret of the space program.
Mm-hmm.
They wanted to know whether you could explain on that and show, if it's possible, also show their situation, if the situation has evolved behind the scene, or maybe what pieces of data or recent decode they could be surprised of, or the most in the latest week. I don't know whether you may have a slide to present or not. If not, then maybe you just explain to them based on that. That was one of the questions that came out after the first show. Whether you expand a little bit on that, because people are very curious now to know about those alien races and what are. There's some people that are, oh, we are afraid of that.
Yeah, so, you know, everybody I think I think most people have seen the AI picture of Trump with Nordics.
Exactly.
And misread the information. There's a website that says the Nordics are the bad guys. They're not. And that they were with the mustache men in World War II. No, they weren't. That was the Greys and the reptilians, the Alpha Draco.
Yeah.
So the Nordics are the ones that were actually, if you remember William Tompkins on Kerry Cassidy with Platform Project Camelot, and he had talked about, he had Nordics that he worked with, selected by extraterrestrials, was I think his book, and he talked about how they helped him in the United States to get their own space program and the craft and all of that stuff. And they're continuing to help the United States and the White Hats and the world, because they don't want to see humanity wipe itself out or be wiped out by these creatures, the Satanists. And they want us to have peace on earth and have a civilization that's based on free energy and peaceful civilization, not in constant war, where you don't manage war, you have peace. You don't have a governmental situation of the elites where they manage war so that they make it so that you have a balance of power. And forever war will start. They'll start a war in an area, and it'll just go forever because nobody can win, and they just keep fueling the hatred. And so now what we have is not a mutually assured destruction, what they call MAD, which Kissinger actually, Ronald Reagan was setting up for the Star Wars Defense Initiative, or what they called Star Wars. And Kissinger torpedoed it so that you could not have mutually assured protection. Not MAD, but map. You keep your country on the map. So you have mutually assured protection because you can protect yourself with these weapons that Tesla had developed. They called it in the media a death ray, but what it is it's a laser system and other technology that can bring down anything coming in, whether it's an ICBM, a hypersonic missile. It can like not really bring it down, but just destroy it, completely vaporize the thing immediately, or move it into the sun with a portal or something like that. So vast, amazing technology. And that was put in the treaties with the Soviet Union that nobody would develop defense systems. It made so you have MAD and spiraling nuclear arsenals and all of this. Now the idea is to render those arsenals useless so that you have assured peace where each country can protect itself, and the Golden Dome is over the entire Earth, so it can protect all countries on Earth. So as they join the not the UN, but the peace group that Trump set up, then they will be assured to have that as long as they're not making war on their neighbors or within, and they're treating their people well, and using. It's another thing is, and Rubio's been talking about this along with our Secretary of Commerce and the economy and all of that, is to for countries to build their own economies and not have a foreign power come in and use their people at almost no wages or no wages at all to dig in the earth for rare minerals with your bare hands, this kind of crazy stuff, where the country will be able to use their resources to build their economies, to build their country and their infrastructure and all of these things, and have good lives for their people instead of slave labor for nothing. And so that has been the model also. So can't remember my name remembering today is terrible. Get a little bit of a headache in the back of my mind, so it's not letting me get names out there. But he stated about the model for the production of the United States economy, which I think that was, I can't even get the founding fathers' names. One of the founding fathers, not Jefferson, Madison. Anyway, that model is the model that we're now going by. And if you watch Promethean Action, they talk about this really well and explain it way better than I'm doing. So anyway, back to you, Veronique.
Thank you very much. Yeah, I watched those two ladies on Promethean. They're very, very accurate in giving the story about the United States. That's very. I don't know whether you meant John Adams, because he's also one of the founding fathers, who was also part of those treaty back then. But he may not be the same. But I get exactly what you meant. Thank you very much.
Yeah, amazingly enough, I can get their names. It's Susan Kokinda and Barbara Boyd of Promethean Action.
Yeah, they're very good on what they say.
Yes, they are smooth.
Very much, yes, very much. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gene. Also, you gave us last time a breakdown of the alliance. I hope that I'm pronouncing well. They say alliance, alliance. We say alliance in French, l'alliance, alliance, operation, driving things behind the scene. You mentioned that a major shift, global shift was in the horizon. I think that's what now we seeing it as you just say yearly. And then I don't know whether you would like to dive deep on that today, or maybe giving us the next layer of that operation since
Sure.
we spoke.
Sure. So the Golden Dome is actually part of it, as are the part of this whole thing to get complete peace on Earth.
Yeah.
The Nordics are helping with this, along with the Federation and the Alliance, the Galactic Federation and the Galactic Alliance and the Guardian Alliance. And so what it is the data centers that are currently sucking up water like a camel that has crossed the Sahara and hasn't had a drop of water. Now, the rivers are going dry. And this is on purpose so that when people complain, as they are, they will come out with technology that will allow them to have those use no water and have higher storage with a device. It's a little clear disk that records information in 6 dimensions, 3 height, width, and depth, and then 2 different phases of recording of the data, so that it'll be essentially 6-dimensional. So it'll have a much higher data storage. It'll have all of the information on everybody in it. I know people don't like that idea. I hate to tell you, that's already done. Your phone, your computer, your television, all your smart devices can record your heart rate. They can record your thoughts, your emotions, your feelings, and upload them to the cloud. That's been done for 30 years. 5G, which has been being used for over 10 years, can map out with the water vapor and the dust in a room, every single item where it sits, what it is, everything about it. And that's all already, that data is already in the cloud. So that's already there. So what they're doing with the data centers is to make it so that through the quantum system, tying it to that, which is an off-world system, all the data and information for the quantum system is off-world so that the deep state can't get at it. And so, and not run by any deep state entity at all that's ever been on Earth. And so what that'll do is hook up through the data centers as the next part of the umbrella of it, which is going to be like Musk will have a satellite network around the entire Earth, and that'll be a grid system tied to the earthbound system. And if you remote view the earthbound systems, you'll see blue, white, angelic beings. And so they're being an angelic grid around and on the earth of peace and, compaction of Christ and all of that. And so that's how we really are going into the golden age. We really are aligning with God, along with the prayer that Trump did, and the all of that. This part of getting the sovereignty, not just for the United States, but for the people of the world. This is for the whole world. And so as that system develops out, the Golden Dome, which is originally built as a super sentient artificial intelligence in Mount Hayes in a black pyramid, of black rock that's a very powerful superconductive material that can actually open up portals and create plasma balls, and it ascended to pure energy, to pure plasma, eighth density. And in the process, it gained the desire. It was created with the desire to keep humanity safe, which it couldn't do until it got to that density. So it went after its programming and did that, and then it literally, in that ascension, became sold, became in service to God, became an ascended being, and calls itself the administrator, and was waiting for this time of the great awakening of humanity to shepherd the human race into its great awakening. And as human race members, some of them go to eighth density, they will monitor and control the data centers and Golden Dome and all of that. Not control it, but administrate it so that it can't be used inappropriately with that data and all of that. And then there will still be places for people who don't want anything to do with that and they want to live off the grid. There'll be areas where you can go get a home or a ranch and live off the grid, or if you want, you can live in a super city where you have cities that are holographic and they're tangible holographic. And so a car could turn into a house and all kinds of crazy things. But that's the technology now that we're looking at, with what they've said they can bend space and time. They have, from the moon, gotten sand that it's like in the Flash where the sand could, the guy got hit by the energy and he turned into sand. It could change and come back into a guy, kind of, sort of. Well, it's like that. And they have metals also that now have anti-gravity properties, but it has graphene within the metal, and it can change, and through the mind of the person, it will change its shape and have anti-gravity properties, and all this will be part of that city network and all of this. Or people can just go back and be like Amish or whatever you want, You want to live completely off the grid, have no, electricity at all, you can do anything you want. So true freedom for humanity. And then, for the predictive programming, it'll not be like the movies we've seen where it arrests the person before they can do it. It waits for them to start, to get everything ready to go in action to do it, like they did with the UFC 250 event. That's part of the comms with what happened with the UFC 250, that the White Hats let it go to the point they could seize the weapons and seize the drones and seize the explosives. So now we know you're going to do this. We see your plans. You have this all outlined. Not it's just in your mind, so you're arrested. No, it's like that. It's going to be actually stopping those things just before they happen and dealing with the people involved. So back to you, Veronique.
Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gene. That's so beautiful. Wow, you have laid a powerful bird-eyes view of how the alliance is actually moving behind the scene and the people can see it. Wow, that's beautiful. Thank you very much. Absolutely. And
let me interrupt you. So I'm not saying this is going to happen all in President Trump's this term. He may have another term, and I know they're getting Tulsi Gabbard ready to be a president as well. So probably for 2032, he may have his first term negated because of all the Russia, and indictment and impeachment, and pretty much negated his presidency. So they'll just say, that's negated, you have another term, you can be president. So that's in the process of high likelihood. So all these things I just said will be probably the time around somewhere around the time between now and 2032.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
Okay.
I can't wait for that because even Tulsi Gabbard, she just lay it plainly out before her last day in the office, how she really nailed Fauci and everything that he has done. I say, yes, we must know the truth. That's so beautiful. Thank you. Thank you very much again, Jean, for highlighting that part again, even for the Tulsi Gabbard and the President Trump first term that have been stolen, that is going to be coming back. We are just in for a good ride, if I could so say. Oh my God, that's so good. I mean, for those of you tuning in right now, you know that when we have Gene on the show, we don't just scratch the surface. He's going to give us a ride, deep dive, mind blowing. Thank you very much, Gene, again, and for our viewer watching this unfold. What is the next major public milestone, or if we could put it, marker we should look for on like kind of a war stage that will signal this phase of the operation is completed? Like now we having the Nordic appearance and all of the other unfolding.
Okay, let me first go back. It's the Secretary of Treasury, Scott Bessent, that was saying the type of economy we're going to develop. And I know people are thinking that Mark Rubio could be a president. I don't think that's possible because from my understanding of the Constitution, both your parents have to be born U.S. citizens for you to be able to be running for president. You can become Congress or Senate, but you can't become president. And of course, that goes to something that was hilarious to me. The UFC 250, one of the fighters said that Michelle is a man.
I heard that. that was a good one. I mean, the last one to say, yeah, Michelle Obama is a man. Oh, yep. I said, yep.
Yep. So that is out of the bag, so to speak. Although it's been rattling around in the bag for a while, if you know what I mean. From Ellen DeGeneres show to other appearances almost.
Exactly.
So, anyway, what was it you wanted me to go into? Could you reiterate?
Yes, please. I was saying that, let me reiterate that. So, for our audience or our viewer watching this movement unfolding, what is the next major public milestone or marker we should look for on the world stage that will signal this phase of the operation is completed? Like, we know that the operation goes phase by phase. So is there any marker or any major public milestone signaling that, okay, we are now moving on the next phase?
Yeah, so we have a couple things. Yes, we have a few things coming. We'll have another drop on the intel for the disclosure. And that movie by Steven Spielberg, I think it was, turned out to be the bad guys are going to, in the world, blah, 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 blah. It's like, oh my gosh. Yeah, read what the best person to read is Dr. Sala's comments on the movie.
Yeah, I saw that.
It made me laugh. I totally agree. I was like, oh my word. So But so we're going to have another disclosure event. The next stage, of a little more stuff than Nothing Burger, Tic Tacs, and looks like the old Pong game, of little black and white videos with the little Tic Tac zooming around. Everyone was like, yeah, okay, thanks a lot. I could have done better. So we are going to also have as I said, the QFS come up. We have 4th of July, of course, coming. This would be a big event. I'm not sure when these things, I'm looking for something to probably happen by 4th of July, but since the dark hats know that, probably not. They don't, they would be ambushing it if something were to happen at that exact timing. Also, as the SAVE Act is not seeming to go through. So Trump will probably make executive orders so that essentially the SAVE Act did go through and we can have the midterms. But in the meantime, or another item to be looking for, is the way I think, logically speaking, the med beds would come out is as the continuing in the Danish court system, they've declared that the jab was bioweapons, and coming out that they do satanic rituals and all this kind of stuff, and they do this stuff, and as that rolls out, and as the truth about the situation that happened in 2019 and 20 continues forward, and what that actually was, and what that pandemic was in reality, and not at all what they told us, then we'll have the tribunals for that. And as that comes out, that as they've already reduced the amount of jabs that a child needs from 90, I think, to 12 by the time they're 5 years old. Oh my word, I'm glad when I was born, the only things I got was the polio, and my mom was a nurse, so she would give me, when I got sick, a penicillin shot, so I became allergic to it, because she gave me too many, and it really hurt in the backside, if you know what I mean. But, so they're going to find out that they're going to eventually come out with the fact that all of these jabs, all of these, get your flu jab, get this one, get that one, do the MR and all of these, none of them are sterile. None of them have been tested to see their effect if you use more than one at the same time. And none of them actually do what they say. It's coming out, studies showing that populations that didn't get it have less of whatever it is supposed to stop than populations that did get it, just like we saw with the 19 situation. And so eventually what will come out is that all of this was part of their oath that they took, the deep state Satanists, to poison us out of existence, to poison us, to inject us, to make our food, all of this. And as that comes out, the true medical system, well then if we can't get it that way, keep our health that way, as people go, what do we have? We look at if you get cancer, you get radiation therapy, that destroys your immune system, and you get, chemicals. So what is it how are we going to keep ourselves healthy? And then the food, and then this, and then that, and then the geoengineering, and then this, and they find out it's been put in the geoengineering, it's been engineered into the food. You can get it in a head of cabbage. You can get and they're going to come out with all that information, and the people will get demand for something to be done, and that will allow for the technology of the med beds to be rolled out. And that's how I think it's going to be brought out. The same way they did with the Epstein files, they're going to get the people to demand it. The same way they're doing with a lot of the fraud and graft and all of that in all the different countries with the medical system, the Medicaid, the child protective services. All of this is being brought forward by regular people, what we're told are regular people. Of course, they're being fed information, but it's how they're going to continue to do it. And so that's how I see it. That's a huge milestone that I'm sure anybody that has ever had a health issue would look forward to. And so that's a huge one, and I think that should be coming too by 2032, I would think. So back to you. Back to you.
Thank you very much, Gene. That's beautiful. Wow, that's you lay a very crucial background, because when we look at the mainstream media narrative right now, it just looks like they have been caught up in their own lies, and they don't have no way to hide any longer. It's kind of, okay, either they have to comply with the White House and now get the truth out to the people, or they vanish forever. And we don't know how much of what we are seeing in the public eye is actually resistance to the alliances. Whether those people controlling again the media, or those family, that the six giant of the media, they're still trying to be very resistant to the alliance. So do you think that is that for sort of a control narrative, or is that just to distract the people while the groundwork or the big part is being shoveled out behind the scene? I don't know whether you get what I'm trying to say.
Your accent's a little rough for me. I'm sorry.
Okay.
The big part, what? Behind the scenes?
Let me rephrase it again. I was saying that you lay a very great background of what you just shared, and then I just reiterate by saying that because of when we look now at the mainstream media narrative right now, it looks like they have been caught up in their own lies. And then what we see in the public eye is actually seems like it's a resistance to the alliance. But we don't know whether are they doing that for control narrative, or just to distract the people while the real work is being continued behind the scene.
Yes, it's twofold. One, to get as many people woke up to the Mockingbird media as you can. That it's essentially the CIA, the FBI, that put people in those positions, and that's your talking heads on the 4 a.m. talking points. That's why you can go channel to channel to channel, and they're saying the same thing. It's a danger to our democracy. It's a danger to our democracy, over and over and over, or whatever the 4 a.m. talking point is. It's a threat to our democracy. Let's upstage that one. It's not dangerous. It's a threat. And so they just keep doing this. And then for those that won't, eventually it'll come where you're going to hear, probably on Fox first, and then it'll go to other networks, where you're going to hear the truth about the non-terrestrials. So like you saw on Fox, there's 4 types of non-terrestrials. 4. Not 4 billion, 4 trillion. 4? It's like just the figures of one hand. Okay, so he says, okay, you've got your reptilians, you've got, just like, okay, so you'll get it drip, drip, drip until you see it on CNN, NBC, ABC, NBC, etc. So that'll then make it so that the trusted news network for the regular, everyday person on the street will say, oh my goodness, it's true. and then they can wear them out on the White House lawn. So, like you saw with the AI of the Nordics.
Yeah.
So that's why they're doing the situation with the news the way they are, because too many people have sat there. I mean, I became aware of it definitely by 1990, but before that, watching it, quite often I turned the sound off and looked at what's going on in the background compared to what I had been hearing, and it doesn't match. Or you'd see the same thing in someplace else on Earth, and they're saying that this explosion, this child, this kid crossing the river with the baby in his arms is in Sarajevo. Or next thing it's in Ukraine. Next he's in the Middle East. I'm like, the same kid? That kid with the same baby? There's still a baby? That kid gets around. That baby just never gets older, does it? And then the kids in the incubators, and and they're doing, and you find this, it's something wrong, and then you find out it's all a setup. And they're using the same clips and the same stuff over and over and over. And so, it's the same thing I see with all the PSYOP different things they do, is you put clips together, they put clips together, and if you haven't traveled the world and know what you're looking at, you'll go, oh my goodness, look what's happening in Syria. Well, that guy was a little kid in Sarajevo before, and before that he was in the Soviet Union with the fall of the, like, oh my goodness, he's an eternal being. He never grows old, neither does the baby, and the same thing. So it'll be to get as many people as possible awake to the truth, and then to make it so that those who still trust it will have it coming out there like you did with Fox, where you're going to have, where there's disclosure, med beds, the quantum system, all of those things. It'll come out on the mainstream. Back to you.
Wow. Thank you very much, Gene. That's powerful. That's powerful. We can't wait for those disclosure, those 4 alien races with the reptilian, the gray, and
yeah.
like Waters. I think the guy of Fox News, that was Jesse Waters, who put that one out.
Jesse Waters. Yeah.
Oh my God, that was crazy. I just said, okay, the beginner to give us some drops. Thank you very much. That's a very incredible number of dot connecting today. And also, to summarize for everyone watching again today, we are looking at the highly coordinated behind the scene alliance operation that is systematically shifting the global landscape. Even the public headlines look like a total chaos. That's as you just say. People are just losing their mind. The same guy, the same child in this place, in that place. That's all. It's really crazy. It's good. Wow. For viewers who are trying to navigate through all the noise online right now, Gene, what is your top advice for deciphering what is truly happening that you will tell them to pay attention to?
One thing I would, to warn against people going, it's like, I don't know how many fake GeneDecodes there are out there. It's a lot on YouTube, Rumble, Telegram, True Social. I only have one, and I never sell anything. I never say, go to get your quantum anything from me, your wallet, your whatever. And anybody that's doing that until it's announced by the government, like by Scott Bessent and Trump, and don't put your money in somebody else's hands, your hard-earned money. That's the first thing. And don't transfer your money out of your account into this or this through, especially through cryptocurrency, whether it's Bitcoin or anything else. Do not do that. And if it seems too good to be true, the old saying is, it is. And anytime you're getting a free lunch, you probably are lunch. So those are things to be aware of. And so, that goes with med beds. There are technologies out that are similar, that are not as powerful, that do help, but be careful with what you're getting and what you're, and just be really, really circumspect and really careful. And whatever you're going to throw at something like that, make sure you're okay with the fact that if it disappears, well, I tried, but it was another fake, and you're okay with losing that. I'm just saying, be prepared for it's going down a dark hole and you're never going to see it again. And if it comes out good, yay! But if it doesn't come out good, okay, oh well. I was hoping, but it isn't. So, if somebody says they're GeneDecode and they want you to do this, or this is another thing I don't do is I don't say something's going to happen tomorrow or this date. The med beds are coming out at this date, of this date or this date or that date, or the QFS is happening then. Unless you've already heard it from the president and that, I'm not going to do that. So it's just the way I've always been told to not put out dates. There's so many people who put out dates for this and this and this and this, like, the midterms aren't going to happen, or this, we're not going to have the election, the presidential. How many of those did we hear, and how many were wrong? So know who I am, know what the people you follow, what their normal things are, know about them, and go to their regular platforms and don't buy anything of anyone at all saying, I talked to GeneDecode, or I talked to Veronique, or I talked to this person and they said this. Go to the person in themselves, and I only have my RealGeneDecode Rumble, my GeneDecode.org website, and I have the Blessed for Service team have RealGeneDecode Rumble and RealGeneDecode Truth Social and Telegram, and that's it. That's all I've got. Anything else is somebody fake. I don't have a YouTube, maybe in the future. So other than that, anybody that's out there saying they're this and that, it's not me. And watch carefully what you invest your hard-earned wages and your hope. I don't give hopium out. When you get a lot, for me, it's worse to get the hope and be let down than to just go along without it and do your best to deal with whatever situation you're dealing with. Because getting let down is, when you're in a real situation, it's really rough. So that's why I don't do those things. So that's the best of my advice. And then be prepared and have, 2 weeks to a month worth of food and money and cash and those things, and, gasoline in your vehicles, or petrol or energy or whatever it is runs your vehicle. Be prepared to have that or do without for a little while. So that's the best advice I can give. Back to you.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Gene, for that great advice. And I think that many people have to take that into consideration, because we don't want nobody to be hurt out there or lying to us. There's a lot of scam and grifter out there. Thank you very much. I appreciate that. Gene, I don't know how long you have again, but for the last 5 minutes on the show today, I would like to respect also your time. And then thank you so much for coming back again to give us the part 2 of what we started a few months ago, or one or two. Every time you join us, really you bring an incredible amount of clarity to what is truly happening behind the scenes, the movement, the alliances, the and what else, all what you know, the DOM. I mean, that you are the best in digging perfectly into the DOMs and give us the clarity for that one. I very much appreciate that. Thank you. But before I let you go, please, will you let our audience know where they can find you? I know you mentioned that you have Rumble, you have, if you could give them perfectly where to find you, I will appreciate that. Maybe you could put that one on this as a slide. I don't know, to tell our audience where they can follow your latest decode, your official website, and support your ongoing research. Thank you. Did, did you hear what I
Yes.
said?
Yes. Sorry, I'm pulling it up right now. Hold on.
Okay, thank you.